Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This week I've printed my electronics enclosure from my introductory series to design in CAD in Fusion 360. Let's take a closer look. Now that we've got that over and done with, let's take a look at why I printed it, how I printed it and what materials I used. So as always with TWIP, let's first take a look at what I've printed. So this is it. This is the electronics enclosure from my introductory series to design in CAD, as I already mentioned. It comes in three parts: a top, a bottom and a volume dial. This is the headphone amplifier that's part of this design. It's an electronics enclosure that was all designed parametrically with sort of a strong emphasis on in-context modelling. That's to say, once you've created your reference geometry, you're only really creating further geometry based off of that geometry, if that makes sense. So this is where all your dimensions are held, and this just fits this by design. If this changes, if this moves because it's parametric, the enclosure also changes. If you're interested in watching that series, there will of course be links in the description below. Taking a look at the printability of the enclosure, it's really very simple. There's a nice big flat base to print everything. The volume dial's small, so it has a smaller surface, but that's fine. In terms of really design detail, there's not a whole lot going on. It was, after all, from my introductory series, which was aimed at being as basic as possible to get people introduced, but also trying to introduce some sort of good practice, some excellent skills, and a focus on advanced features that can be used in a simple-ish way. So I printed this out for a couple of reasons. Firstly, to sort of finish off that series where I did the design. I didn't print it in that series. The print is demonstrated here. And of course it gives me an enclosure for this small headphone amplifier. I'm not going to go into the details of headphone amplifiers now, but needless to say, this quite basic one is not the best, but it sort of demonstrates some nice functionality that goes with 3D printing, and it's a low-cost entry point if you did want to try it yourself. So how did I print it then? Well, all of this was printed on the Prusa i3 Mark III in Tom 3D's Infinity Blue made by Das Filament. The material used to print this is Infinity Blue. It's made by Das Filament and was designed in partnership with Tom's 3D, or Thomas Sandlandra. I probably didn't pronounce that right, sorry Tom. But yes, this was from them. It's a lovely filament, it prints really nicely using the stock printer settings on the Mark III. It comes out, well, I think this is probably one of the nicest PLAs I printed with. It has this nice matte finish, the glitter sort of takes away the look of all the lines. It's really very nice. As I mentioned already, this filament does have glitter in, but you don't need a hardened nozzle to print it. Well, I hope not anyway, because I didn't use one. If that's incorrect, there will be a pinned comment or a note in the description, so double check that. Probably worthwhile. Let's take a look now at how you assemble this little entourage of pieces. Assembling this headphone amplifier is really very easy. All you need is 4 screws, the headphone amplifier itself, and the 3 printed parts. These screws are M3 by 8. This is the low cap head type, but you could use full head caps. The head would stick out the bottom a little bit, or the M3 button heads, but you will need to use M3 because that's what it's designed for. But anyway, to assemble it, first you take the top of the enclosure and the headphone amp. You turn it upside down and you slip it in through the front, down like that. You then take your bottom, make sure you've got it around the right way. These two parts will face these two parts. That goes on simply like that. You then take the screws one by one and screw them in. You finish off the assembly by adding the volume dial. It's quite simple. Turn the volume all the way to minimum and make sure the dial indicator is then bottom left. That's it. That will now increase and indicate the volume. So that's it for me today on this episode of TWIP, where I printed my headphone amplifier enclosure, electronics enclosure, Fusion 360 introductory design and CAD series enclosure, whatever you like to think of it as. And it's all assembled now and looks pretty nice, I think. Links for the Fusion 360 series, the filament and the printer will be in the description below. Like and subscribe to this video if you want to see more from me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to see behind the scenes and other things like that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.